So yeah, welcome to Next Level Love, moving from codependent to sovereign relationships. So relationships are definitely close to my heart, like all of us, but I've definitely been on a long journey of learning about how to create deeper, healthy relationships. And I know that this is really a time where we are all up leveling a lot, particularly if you're watching this, that you're someone who is really probably on this process of up leveling on a lot of different areas and also healing a lot of different patterns. And this shows up in relationships big time. And so this is probably why the word codependent is like so, sort of out there and catchy these days, because it's speaking to something that a lot of us are beginning to notice. I know I'm only just beginning to notice the aspects of myself that were playing out codependent patterns, and I will talk about that later. Just first to say that my intention for this webinar is going to be a little bit shorter, because I've already done the whole thing. But I'm sure that'll be okay for you because people's bandwidth are generally pretty low these days. So it's going to be more about 45 minutes, and it's going to be content rich, and also going to give you an opportunity to use the time to reflect and to tune into your energy around relationships. And yeah, so it's going to be a combination of me sharing insights and skills and some information about my program. And my intention is to really empower you to feel empowered to create empowering relationships that are nourishing and supportive, because this is so necessary these days, that our relationships are supporting us rather than draining us. And so when it comes to codependent relationships, like one way of understanding what a codependent relationship is that it is a relationship that is draining us more than it's empowering us. And so in all relationships, there's moments when it's like hard work. But when it comes to codependent relationships, when it comes to net worth, it's more draining than nourishing and empowering. So it's one way to understand what a codependent relationship is. So I'm going to be talking more about that and how we can move from those patterns of codependence into patterns of creating empowered, nourishing, awesome relationships. First of all, my name is Sonja Maria Devi. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to the tech gods that support this particular recording. I'm coming at you from North Bali. It's sunset time. There's ocean in the distance. There's kids playing around. You'll probably hear them. So I've been working with people around sexuality and relationships for a number of years. And I started off quite young as a therapist. I was 20 years old and I started working as a body worker. And I soon began to feel energy and began to work with people on a deep energetic level. I then really began to specialize with women. I was always really devoted to the sacred feminine and to the feminine. And so that also translated in me going through a huge process of sexual healing myself, and also a huge process of learning and growth around relationships. And so it's through my own experience that I share, but also as a therapist who's worked with many, many, many women and some men, and also as a yoga teacher and a qigong teacher and a healer. So I'm very much around embodiment and skills. I really believe that that we have so much skills available for empowerment. So I'm really into sharing that. And I'm particularly passionate about sharing about relationships, because I know that when we're in empowering relationships, then it supports us on every level, and then it supports everyone else around us. If we have children, it's immensely supportive for them. It supports anyone who gets to receive the work, the service that we can give when we're supported. and not drained by our relationships. So I feel very passionate about that. And I also feel passionate about sharing those skills. I'm also, yeah, really understanding that this is a moment where a lot of us are bringing our attention to relationships and becoming more aware of these subtle dynamics of relationships. And so this is where we get to notice perhaps where we have some codependent tendencies. And I would say that codependence is like a spectrum. And so we might be kind of high in the spectrum and have had, decade long, incredibly draining, disempowering codependent relationships that took a big chunk of our life. We could someone who just see aspects of ourselves playing out codependent tendencies in our relationships. And this can happen at any time in our development, where it's not like we get to a point where like, oh yeah, I'm just done my relationship issues. It's like we're continually learning and growing. And essentially codependence is coming from lack inside of ourselves. Codependent relationships come more from lack, whereas sovereign relationships are coming more from fullness, like we're in touch with ourself in a healthy way, and then we can share from that place. Whereas codependence is coming from lack. And when anything's coming from lack, it's ripe for addictive tendencies. We're needing something. We're needing something that we're not sourcing inside of ourselves. And so this creates an unhealthy dynamic, and codependent relationships are essentially unhealthy relationships. And there might just be an aspect of your relationships that are unhealthy. So really, it's so much about our own inner work and our own self-awareness that allows us to unravel this stuff and learn how to move more from codependence to sovereignty. So I'm going to be talking about all those different skills, about how to do that, how to do this inner work, and also, of course, how to bring that into our relationships. But when it comes to this stuff, often it's about what's going on in our relationship to ourselves. And there's so much that we can do in our own relationship to ourselves that changes our frequency and then changes the relationships that we attract. And I've definitely seen that at play in my life very, very well. I was attracted to unavailable men for a period of time. I think it was about 7-8 years. And I learned so much through breaking that pattern. And that was by, really bringing attention to the part of myself that was creating this pattern, the part of me that felt that I was like not somehow deserving of someone's full presence and love. And, it was through doing the inner work that I was able to change that pattern. And then lo and behold, then it changed in my external world. So it really works. It really, really works. Okay, let's get started then. I'm just going to take a sip of water and encourage you to take a deep breath now. And just take a moment to feel where you are in your relationship journey right now. Are you feeling fulfilled in your relationships? Do they feel supportive? Maybe you could just scan through your relationship, history, and just seeing the different flavors, different patterns that's played out, bringing you to this moment now where you're ready to take a deeper look into your relationships and claim a deeper love, a deeper connection, or just enhancing the relationships that you do have. Take a deep breath. Okay, so I'm going to share with you this dodgy little picture. You can tell how untechy I am, but it's pretty. We've got some good insights here. So we've got the codependent person, and she isn't very happy because there's a lot of drama playing out in his life. Let's call it a her. Yeah, codependent relationships, they are ultimately draining. At the end of the day, they're ultimately draining. And that's usually because there's a lot of drama and because there's a lot of patterns playing out. Because when we are reaching out from a place of lack, then we are usually playing out the patterns. I mean, it could come from our own early history, a story with our own early history, the experience that we had, the patterns that we experienced. It also could be an ancestral pattern, something maybe you don't even know why you're acting like that, but perhaps it's coming through you. It's coming up to you to resolve this pattern. But it shows up in our relationships as patterns that just keep on reoccurring, and then usually it ends up being quite draining because we're not transforming the patterns. It's more reinforcing those patterns. It's very easy to become addicted to our partner when we're reaching out to them from a place of lack. So if we're not sourcing the love inside of ourselves, then we reach out and we're reaching out to try and get the love, then it's very easy to get addicted to that source. And so this is where codependent relationships have more of an addictive aspect to them. And that's something that I've definitely seen in myself. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Any place where we're coming from lack, it creates more and more lack, and it also creates strain on the relationships and can show up in all sorts of different patterns that are draining and not so supportive for our growth. So yeah, they're like more. It's more like contractive rather than expanding, and also hiding your true feelings. So I find that in codependent relationships, rather than being fully transparent, authentic, usually you're hiding aspects of yourself. And that's so there's less real deep intimacy. On the other side, we've got happy, self-connected, sovereign being. So when we feel connected and full inside of ourselves, then we can share our fullness, and we can support each other. We've got energy and space to support each other, and we're supporting each other's healing and each other's growth. So we're still going through stuff. We still have patterns coming up. We still have challenges, but we're meeting them together. We're talking about it. We're becoming conscious together and sharing the journey. Instead of hiding our true feelings, we're creating containers for deep sharing. So we're committed, like a conscious relationship. We're committed to the journey, healing and growing together. And we're transforming those old patterns in the process and co-creating boundaries and solutions. So whereas in codependence, there's a lot of sloppy boundaries and trying to get love and power plays. Whereas for this one, where things are on the table, we're co-creating healthy boundaries together, and we're respecting our partner's boundaries. We're supporting each other to connecting with that truth. And that's one way you can really see the difference between the two, because in a codependent relationship, the more time you spend in the relationship, the less connected to yourself you feel, because it's a replacement for self-love and self-connection. Whereas in a sovereign relationship, it's actually encouraging you to know yourself better and to be in your truth and learn more about your truth. As a mutual journey of growth and deepening support. And it's not a replacement for self-love. We're more like sharing love. We're reaching out for support. We're reaching out to share love together, but it's not from a place of from lack, because that's where all the problems come from. And so how do we transform those patterns? This is what it's all about. How can we've all got the capacity to create more healthy relationships. And we're all on this journey, on this spectrum actually, of doing this inner work that gets us to a place where we can be more healthy in the way that we relate, and so we can share love in a healthy way, so that we can support each other to thrive. Like, that's where we're really heading, and we're all, for some of us, we do have to do a complete paradigm shift. Other people, we're fine tuning, but there's always space for growth and for insight and for deepening our relationship to ourselves. So let's all take a breath, or at least I'll take a breath and a sip. So yeah, what can you do if you notice that you're in codependence, or at least playing out strong codependent tendencies? So there's we've got 4 C's for you that speak to different skills and different ways that we can empower ourselves to move into the sovereign relationship paradigm. So the first one is self-awareness, and this is really huge. It's really huge. And a conscious relationship is basically a relationship where we're becoming conscious of things, and then we're sharing it with our partner. But in order to become conscious and share, we need to know what's going on. And so self-awareness it's a commitment. It's like commitment to self-awareness. That's the C, commitment to self-awareness. We're committing to really looking at ourselves and beginning to understand what's really going on. And so instead of perhaps just playing out the same old pattern, we can be like, oh, hang on, I think I'm just getting really triggered. I wonder why I'm getting triggered. Maybe it's because I feel, I seem to be feeling really jealous, and I'm snappy, and maybe I feel insecure. Why do I feel insecure? And then taking it back and beginning to notice, beginning to understand what the patterns are, and begin to to unravel the behaviors and the energetics, so that they're no longer just something that's just playing out without us really understanding, but something that we can catch, and then something that we can share. And so this is where we start to have conscious relationships, where we become conscious, we're becoming conscious because it's a process, and then we share that with our partner. Whereas if we don't know what's going on, how can we share it? We can't. And so this involves us really going on a big self-exploration, really committing to self-awareness, and really, committing to lovingly meet our edges, and go where we might not, would rather just not go. And so it's really this exploration of ourselves is key if we're going to actually change our paradigm relationship. So we need to commit to self-awareness. And this also often involves us going to our edges, and it also involves going to the parts of us that feel lack, the little girl, little boy in us who doesn't feel enough. So we go to those sources of lack. So instead of just blindly creating relationships from a place of lack and just trying to get our needs met from outside of ourselves, it's getting to oh, wow, I actually have this lack inside of me. Oh, and beginning to tend to that. And so we'll get to that in the next one. But yeah, it really begins with this commitment to explore and become conscious. And of course, this can involve having support from others who can help show us, and different skills. And in my program, I totally take you through all those processes that you can begin to look at all that stuff. So that's the first one, commitment to self-awareness. And so that's really very, very key from moving from codependence to sovereign relationships. And the second one, cultivating self-connection. So this is also like super, super key. And I wish that we were taught this at school, and I hope that in the future that we do, that we get taught to regulate our own systems. And so when we get activated, when we get out of balance, that we know how to bring ourselves back to balance. And so ideally you were taught that, modeled that, and shown that in your upbringing. Maybe you didn't get that, or maybe it just wasn't enough for you, that you are able to really receive that ability to regulate your own system. So you weren't people who are really got this really well, we would say, like in terms of attachment, they're like more secure attachment, that they can regulate themselves, and then they can create healthy relationships. But many of us didn't really receive that adequately, or perhaps we needed more from our caretakers, or perhaps we come in with trauma, or we experience a lot of trauma. There's so many reasons. But the key thing is that many of us are needing to recreate that understanding of how we can regulate our own systems. And the way we do that is really, the body is the key. And this is why embodiment practices are so important, because we're learning to regulate our own systems. And if we can regulate our own systems, then we become a self-sourcing system. We're able to meet our own stuff. And from that place, we can also reach out in a healthy way for support, and for support in regulating ourselves. But at least that if we have that basic ability to love ourselves and be present with ourselves and bring ourselves back to balance, then we'll be reaching out from a more healthy place and create more healthy relationships. So for many of us, it's a journey of learning to self-regulate. And so one really simple thing you can do is one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, and just breathe. And so when you notice that you become really activated, nervous, fearful, maybe you're just creating huge stories in your head about your partner, so like, oh, here I am with myself, safe here in my body. Coming back to that self connection. And so for most of us, we're really needing to cultivate this. And so in my program, I'm showing you how to do that, and leading you through different practices that can help create a sense of safety in your body, because it's so important in creating healthy relationships. And there's nothing more beautiful than sharing safety with a beloved. And in codependent relationships, usually both don't feel safe, and then they're kind of sharing from that messy place. Let me just take a sip. Okay, the third C, communication skills. Now, this is another one that hopefully is going to be, taught in schools. Most of us were modeled really bad communication skills, and it's so easy. Relationships can really bring up our stuff. I know I've seen myself just communicate really bad, like really regress. It's really a practice to be able to communicate in a way that doesn't create drama, but creates resolution and harmony. So Yeah, this is a process that we're all learning, hopefully. And one really key aspect is that we're learning to dissolve the charge before we communicate. And so there can be a time for you just to express and scream, but just sometimes, and for you to create a container around that. So one way of becoming more skillful is to create containers, like of awareness, around huge outbursts of emotion, and in general being able to own your own reaction and deal with your own charge, because generally if you've really been activated, it's got something to do with you. So for you being able to at least meet that in yourself before you bring that to your partner, it's an amazing skill. It's an amazing skill, and it's such a key skill for creating healthy relationships, healthy communication. And this really actually comes from the last two, from your ability to cultivate, to commit to self-awareness, so that you are able to self-reflect, so you can share, and then your ability to self-connect and regulate your system so that you can come back into some kind of balance, at least most of the time, and then share. Hey, so yeah, I noticed that this is going on, and that was really difficult for me, and that's why I reacted like that. And would you be able to, so this kind of conscious relationship, conscious communication, where we are using our communication to dissolve drama rather than creating more and keeping us, playing out those same patterns. So yeah, communication skills, so important. And yes, I go through this in the program and offer lots of guidance around that. I know for myself that my relationships have completely changed as a result from my own ability to communicate well. And of course, we're on a spectrum with that one. We're all learning, and it's really a gift to ourselves and also to our partner, that rather than just blurting whatever out, that we are able to own what's going on inside of us and find ways to share that are less violent, non-violent communication. And also that for us to be able to share our own truth and also hear the truth of our partner. And so these are really skills that we're learning, and these are the valued skills that we need to move out of like a more codependent drama paradigm. Yeah, it's very much growing up, actually, developing our communication skills. And there's just some simple principles that can be very, very helpful. And I share that in the program in the third week, which is the solar plexus week, which is around personal power, knowing our needs, and how to communicate them. So it's very much knowing our needs is an interesting point for a lot of women and men. And it's very, very important for us to be on that journey of noticing what our needs are. Once we know what our needs are, we can avoid big, messy situations. Yeah, so communication skills, super important. Mm-hmm. So moving on, the last C is to cull the relationships that are not empowering. So cull, C-U-L-L. It's not if English isn't your first language, you might not recognize it, but it's when you let it go. And I know this isn't necessarily a simple thing, but what I'm trying to say here is that you have the right to stop feeding relationships that are not empowering for you. That's basically it. So, so that involves you noticing that the relationship is not healthy, or the pattern is not healthy, and having so much self-honor that you allow yourself to withdraw your energy from that relationship, perhaps because you just need time to do the inner work so you get strong enough to go back in, or perhaps you can see that it's a relationship that just really is not, it's just not empowering for you. It's not worth your energy. It's not supporting you. It's not going to help you, thrive. And, it's just not. And so it doesn't deserve your energy, and that it's going to be better for everyone if you withdraw your energy from that. And of course, that takes skill and a lot of self-honor more than anything. So I really give you the permission, if there's a relationship in your life that you notice is ultimately draining you and not supporting you, I give you permission to take your energy out of that relationship, if that feels right for you, and to honor yourself enough to do that. So, perhaps it's time to reflect on what relationships in your life are not healthy, and just see if there's any ways that need to be you need to respond to that. But I'd say the most important thing is that you don't move towards a relationship that's taking from you in that way. You don't need to keep on going there. You just don't need to do that. And this is really a time where we really need to choose support and choose supportive relationships, whether it's romantic or friendship. It's absolutely our right to choose where our energy goes, how we use our energy, so that we can keep our energy fully topped up. And, I'd say that that's sort of the point of being sovereign, is that you are in command of this being that is yourself, and that you work with the energy. You have the power to work with this energy and this being in a way that really supports your highest, because if you're in your highest, that's going to support everyone in your life. So it's really worth doing the work around all of this. So I'd love to give you a recap on what we cover in the Next Level Love program, and show you how this actually does the work of moving you out of codependency and into deeper empowerment in your relationships. So it's a 4-week or a month-long program, and you receive a different email every day. And the women who've done the course say that they love it. Comes in bite-sized chunks. So we cover a lot of very potent and transformative material, but you have time that you can assimilate that. And so over the 4 weeks, we move up through the chakras, through the energy, the lower chakras, the energy systems in our body, which are really connected to our patterns. So we're not just understanding things, we're actually shifting the energy around it. And so we start in the root chakra. And so the root chakra is where we really store those very deep imprints from the past, ancestral imprints, early life imprints. And so in the program, we're actually doing an embodiment practices, which is really shifting, breaking up that energy. And this is really getting to the sources of why you come from lack. And so doing embodiment practices to work with the energetics, but also you're exploring self-reflection, committing in your commitment to self-awareness, getting to understand why, what are the sources of this lack, these lack programs, and actively rewiring and changing. So then in the second week, we're in the sacral chakra. So this is more about getting to work with our emotions, our sexual energy, our creativity in better ways, and also getting to understand also the ways that we've been blocked in our energy, in our life force, the ways that we shut ourselves down in relationships, and learning ways to be able to bring fresh energy into our relationships. And create sacred sexual experiences, and really enriching, creative, beautiful relationships. So that's the second week. And in the third week, we move up into the solar plexus chakra. And so that's really connected to personal power. And so in that week, we really cover communication skills and ways to create healthy boundaries. There's a powerful practice in learning how to say no, and also guidance on how to express your needs, which is super, super key in creating healthy, empowering relationships. So you're guided through all that stuff and given lots of skills to empower your relationship to relationships. And then in the fourth week, we're moving up into the heart, and we're working with your capacity to give and receive love freely. So many of us are conditioned to have blocks. It could be self-worth stuff, or just, you're actually going to be really working with your capacity to receive love in a bigger, wider way. And working with love, working with unconditional love, how to receive it, how to give it, and also how to create co-creative relationships that are empowering, and where you're sharing an amazing journey rather than keeping yourself down. So that's over the 4 weeks. And it's a beautiful process. It's also quite deep. It covers quite a lot of ground. But like I said, it's in a way that you can receive it, and you've got practices that you can work with in your own time. And so the women have done this program. It is for women because I know women's bodies really well. I know women's patterns really well. And so I was able to create a program really centered on that. So this is for women, and the women who have done it say that it's been amazing for them. I feel like it's a really good program, and that this is being reflected to me by every woman who's done it. So if you're feeling this call, then I have a discount to offer you to make it really quite doable. So if you get the program today or sometime in the next 3 days, you can have it for $197. And that's pretty affordable, particularly if you break it down into monthly payments, which is a total option. And so you're getting like a lot of content and a whole journey for not so much money at the end of the day. And also, I sometimes, like twice a year, I hold a group journey where we're doing the program together, which is really beautiful. We can really support each other, and you get more sort of live support from me. And so if you buy this now, whenever I run that, I will give you the invitation to join free of charge. So you can get that $197 down from $333 is the usual price. So that's available to you now. And I'm just completely blessing your journey of deepening into more fulfilling, intimate relationships. I'm so honored that you have joined me today, and I hope that you've received so much. And if you're feeling that call to join the Next Level Love program, I'm really happy to be able to offer you that discount. And if you have any questions, you can just reply to one of the emails. To get the program now, you just scroll down on this page and you'll find the options for the discounts. Okay, thanks for joining me. Sending you so much Next Level Love.
My name is Linda, and I gifted myself the Next Level Love class as my gift for 2021. I had been in a marriage for 25 years and then found myself single for 5.5 years. And I never thought I would be in a relationship again. I went through some really difficult times dating and also finding myself in that process. So when I started Next Level Love, I decided to give myself totally to the process and make it a complete priority in my life. And so some of the classes I did 2, 3, and 4 times. I did every single exercise. And I realized that this was the education that I had never received before. And it was up to me, now that I had this information, and content. It was about my commitment to working with myself through it. So I made that commitment in the entirety. The weirdest thing is that the morning that I finished the class, I met my current partner later that day. And we've been together ever since that night. And I am so glad. And I'm doing the class again just to brush up my relationship skills and go deeper with it. But for all of you out there that want to know about Next Level Love, I just want to say from my heart, this is one of the finest and best, the most lucky things that's ever happened to me. And I really hope it is for you too. Lots of love. Bye.
Do you want to know how I attracted a deeply loving partner who's fully committed to me? I worked on myself. I worked on the things in me that were blocking me from being able to attract the kind of partner who was able to meet me on a really deep level. And I also learned to love myself on such a level that I could only attract someone who could meet me in that way. I had to become the queen before I could meet my king. The thing is that if you try and attract someone without really doing the inner work, then you might just attract another emotionally unavailable person who's unable to really meet you because you haven't learned to really meet yourself and you haven't really learned to have a conscious relationship. So how can you attract a conscious relationship if you're not there yet? And so I created this program to take you there, to take you into that space where you can really own your desire for next level love and actually attract next level love, and also maintain a conscious relationship where you're actually relating on that level. So this is how it works. I take you on a potent 1-month journey with daily transformational practices to really get to the root of your relationship issues and learn more empowering ways of navigating relationships. The program is also rich with meditations, energy healing, and tantric practices to awaken your body to love on a whole new level. This program really is for you if you deeply want a conscious, committed relationship and you are willing to do the inner transformation work to make that happen.